Hello, today we're going to talk about three things you always should ask yourself before buying any stock, any company. And this is not going to, and I'm going to just get right into it. Basically, number one, what does the future outlook for the company? This is a question you always should ask yourself, regardless. I think too many people make mistakes when they call themselves value investors and all this, and they go by the numbers. Let's say they do some book valuation or something like that onto some company or some cash flow or discount cash flow valuation or whatever they use, and it comes back to the price that you should pay now, and the it comes back to the price of it and all this. So essentially, they always think of in terms of right now, and they never really. And a lot of times, people do dumb things when they go buy a company just because the numbers look good now. A lot of book value investors or value investors, they can look at a low PE and think it's a cheap stock, but that's another dumb thing they do. I should make another video on PE ratios and why I never look at them and why they're stupid. But basically, what I look at is they go look at these valuations. They call it cheap, and they call it this, and they call it that, and they go always and they won't look at the future. You could just look at the business now. You should never really look at a business just now, what it looks like now. I mean, that's what you should do is look out the future. Okay, you don't want a company that's selling, let's say digital cameras. You know what I mean, or something, because 10 years ago it might be undervalued based on the financials and stuff like that and the fundamentals. But really, what was the future of let's say, a lot of them companies that made digital cameras or disposable cameras? Nobody even uses that. So essentially, it might have been a great price, but a horrible business that cameras were going out anyway because everything's going on your phone. So essentially, a lot of them people that bought them stocks and thought they were great buys, just based on book value valuations and all that, they were buying something that's dying out. And a lot of what happened to Kraft Heinz and a lot of them staple companies, they kind of made these products that people don't like them, and so essentially, based on a value standpoint and fundamentals, they looked well, but really that future outlook kind of looks like pretty bad, really, for some of them. I mean, they can turn it around. That's really, I guess, what people are betting on, but really, I mean, that's not really the game that I do. But still, you're still looking at the future outlook of the company. So that's number one thing that you always have to look at. Always look at the future. If the future looks good and you can kind of understand where the direction of the company's going for, then go for it. Number two, is there a lot of opportunity for growth in the future? The first was like, is the company will the company do well in the future? It's just like Coca-Cola. Well, I never bought shares of Coca-Cola. I think there's still a future for the Coca-Cola. People will probably still drink Coca-Cola 20 years from now and 30 years from now, and they probably still drink Coca-Cola. It's a good brand, it tastes good, and it's cheap. So essentially, people probably will still drink it. But is there any growth for the company? Will people drink more Coca-Cola down the road? Will they drink more than they are now? Yes, they probably will. Just because there's more people in the world. So essentially, the population increases and the same amount of people drink Coca-Cola, they probably still drink the same amount. So essentially, there's growth, but is there a lot of growth? That's what you have to look at. You know what I mean? If the company's not growing at 20% or over 10%, really them companies are really not very good companies to really look at. Really, I don't really pay attention to companies like that, just because it has to have a big opportunity like Amazon or something like that, where it has a lot of growth still potentials, or Shopify, or a lot of the companies that I've been recommending. I just made a video of the stocks I would recommend for June. I can leave a link, and you can see a lot of them companies have a lot of future potential in the growth aspects. But anyway, number three, this question that I always ask myself, I think it's the most important. Well, actually, maybe not the most important. I think they're all important. But number three is it the best stock? And that's the question you always have to ask yourself. Is there's a good stock? They always say, is it a good investment? they should never really ask themselves that. They should never ask if it's a good investment. They should ask themselves, is the best investment? Is it the best investment I can make at this time right now? So essentially, I mean, that narrows out a lot of companies, because you can think, is Procter & Gamble a good stock to buy? A lot of people say, yeah, it's a good stock to buy, but is it the best? Because you call it, let's say you have only $1,000 to put. I mean, a lot of people have limited of capital they have to invest. Unless you have all the money in the world, then you probably won't invest anyway. But anyway, if you like the average person having an average amount, or let's say $1,000 every month, put $1,000 in something Procter & Gamble or some growth company. You know what I mean? That's the best investment that you can make. So focus on. So ask them 3 questions. What is the future outlook for the company? What is the future growth opportunities? Maybe it's growing into emerging industry like cloud computing and maybe cybersecurity. Maybe some or a chip maker was an excellent like Nvidia. A couple years ago, it was a great investment. It went up over 15, 17 times. So essentially, you have a massive company like that, and that's why I got into and then a lot of people going 5G route, which I think it's a pretty good play. 5G it has growth, so essentially, them companies has a lot more growth opportunities to look forward to. Because all the 5G devices like Skyworks Solutions, that's why I was recommending them. And Nvidia, of course, Nvidia was really the top dog in semiconductors, but a lot, they still have a lot of potential there. So essentially, that's the companies you're looking for, like Match Group. They're growing online. Basically, everything's going online, so dating's going online. These companies have massive growth ahead of them. Basically, like a big runway. Basically. And number 3 is the best. There's a lot of good companies out there you can buy. A lot of people say that the bonds are a good investment. Really, they really are, but are they the best investment? Gold is always a good investment. Really, precious metals will be worth more down the road than they are now. But is it the best investment you can do? You can buy $1,000 worth of gold coins, or a stock that can go up 10, 15 times or double in maybe a year or so. What company would you want to pick? And that's really, especially if you put your money at risk. If you know what I mean, it's not like you're buying bonds where you're not really putting your money at risk that much, especially federal bonds. Not as much. The government usually always pays back their debts. But anyway, yeah, that's what you have to look at. You have to look at that way. So essentially, if you're gonna risk your money, you might as well go, kind of for the big the swing for the fences, essentially. Unless you want to just put in an index fund, but you always have to. Is it the best investment? A lot of people always ask. They always ask me the question: is it a good investment? Then I normally ask the wrong. You're asking me the wrong question. You're asking me, why. Basically, you want the best in your. So if you stick to them 3 questions, ask them every single time you make an investment. Every single time you even sell too. So essentially, you have to ask these questions. If they says no, then it's a sell. So essentially, but if it's a yes, then buy. And actually, if it keeps saying yes on these questions, then you know what, you maybe buy more if it's in your portfolio. Like Peter Lynch once said in his book One Up on Wall Street, sometimes the best investment is one that you already made. So he always add to his winners. I heavily agree with that. I always add to my winners. Because normally I have the best stocks that I feel like have the best opportunities. So I'm going to keep adding to them. I'm not going to add to something because it's good investment or some Yahoo on the internet says that to buy it, So essentially, I always go for the best. So, and I hope you too. So anyway, I hope that video was helpful. Maybe opened your mind to the questions you should always ask yourself. And I still ask myself these same questions every single time I make an investment, every single time I sell, every single time I buy it. So, I hope this helped you out, and thank you for watching.